Good evening. My name is Robert Cagnetta, and this is a meeting of the South Kingstown, Rhode Island Zoning Board of Review. Members present tonight are Thomas Daniels, our Vice Chairman, Bill Rosen, Susan Walsh, Kevin Diamond, and Arlene Hicks, who is our alternate. Also present are Amy Goins, our South Kingstown Special Legal Counsel, Jamie Gorman, the South Kingstown Building zoning official, and Jessica Spence, our Administrative Support Associate. The board is made up of 7 people, and 5 are regular voting members, but only 4 are required to be present to vote. In the event that there are fewer than 4 members, an alternate will step in. No more than 5 members are entitled to vote. Tonight, the voting members will be Mr. Daniels, Mr. Rosen, Ms. Walsh, Kevin, Mr. Diamond, and myself. Applicants are here for either a variance, either dimensional use, or to seek a special use permit. This board is a quasi-judicial body created by the South Kingstown Ordinance pursuant of state statutes. We don't follow strict rules of evidence, and we operate in what we believe to be in a fair and equitable manner. We try to let everyone speak unless you get carried away or it is determined not to be relevant. So in the interest of time, please try to be brief and on point. We do our best not to argue and keep things civil, and we try to have the last petition heard by 10 o'clock, which shouldn't be a problem tonight. When your petition is called, please come up to the microphone and speak clearly into it. And I'll remind the board members as well, just make sure we stay close because this is how we create the record, is by the hearing everyone through the microphone. I lost my place. You'll be asked to state your name and spell it for the record, and then take an oath to tell the truth. The applicant can then present the petition along with any other witnesses to testify in its support, with the board members asking questions. After the applicant has presented their testimony, the board will seek public testimony either in support or opposition. They will be asked to come forward, state and spell their name, be sworn in, and present their testimony, again followed up by board questions. Questions or comments to the applicant or other witnesses will be made through the board, and the board will allow the applicant to respond after the comment period. After all the testimony and before the vote is taken, the board will openly discuss the application and the evidence presented. Variances or special use permits require at least 3 voting members to be voting in favor of the petition to grant the requested relief. Board members will ask a lot of questions, and there's a good reason. We cannot just grant anything we choose. We follow rules per our South Kingstown Ordinance, so you must give testimony to support certain facts to allow your request to be approved. You're here either for a dimensional variance or a special use permit, and if you're here for a variance, you must offer the following evidence to the board: that your hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure, and it's not due to the general characteristics of the surrounding area; that your hardship is not the result of any prior action on your part; that the granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area; and that the relief requested is the least relief necessary; and that you must show that the hardship that you will suffer if the variance is not granted will amount to a more than a mere inconvenience. For a special use permit, you must present the following: that the special use permit that you are requesting is specifically authorized by the zoning ordinance. So somewhere in our zoning ordinance, this has to be authorized, or we don't have the power to grant it. You wouldn't be here to this point if it weren't allowed under that. But that your special use permit requested meets all the criteria set forth in the zoning ordinance that authorizes such special use. And then the granting of the special use permit will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area or impair the purpose or intent of the zoning ordinance. So we don't have anything else to kind of go over? Just a reminder to talk into your microphone and not do this? Yeah, okay, I'll try. First we have the petition of John Simonetti and for Kelly King of 224 Middlebridge Road in South Kingstown, Rhode Island, 02879 for a 1-year extension of a dimensional variance granted on March 16th, 2022, and recorded in the South Kingstown Land Evidence on March 30th, 2022, Book 1825, pages 636 and 637, under the zoning ordinance section 910A, which is a one-year time limit and one-year extension. The owners of the property are Kelly King for the premises located at 224 Middlebridge Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 43-4, Lot 61, and is zoned R20. And for this petition, we have the extension request letter prepared by Kelly King. That's dated on February 24th, 2023. We have the zoning board notice of decision, which is 3 pages, granted on March 16th, 2022, and recorded in the South Kingstown Land Evidence on March 30th, 2022, Book 1825, and pages 636, 637. Is anyone here? Is anyone here for this tonight? Do we have to hear it, or can we just discuss it and make a motion?
And just discuss it and make a motion on the basis of the letter.
So the letter is dated February 24th, 2023. At the meeting of the South Kingstown Zoning Board of Review held March 16th, 2022, I, Kelly King, as represented by John Simonetti from JAS Architects, was granted a petition for a dimensional variance for the premises located at 224 Middlebridge Road in South Kingstown. Since obtaining the variance, my life partner has endured several severe medical issues requiring various hospital stays, weekly outpatient treatments, and significant recovery efforts that have caused us to delay our construction plans due to the imposition this project will place on our daily living capabilities. Our intent is to start and complete this project in the coming months, but we kindly request an extension of the dimensional variance granted for a second one-year period so that we can complete the necessary preparations inclusive, but are not limited to securing a contractor and establishing a timeline for them to apply for a permit and commence the construction in accordance with town requirements. And this is Ms. King. And the rest is sort of on file, right? So is it just 1 year that they need, or we can give?
That's all we can give, and it seems like that's all they asked for right now. A second extension could be granted next year, and it would have to be advertised. The first extension has to be on the agenda, but it doesn't have
To be advertised.
to abutters. Yep.
Okay. So does anybody have any issues with this request for the extension? Anyone out in the audience have anything to say? No? Okay. Then I'll just make a motion to approve the extension for Kelly King for 1 year. And when, do I have to state when it will sunset?
It's automatic. It's 1 year from the expiration of the initial period, which runs from the date it was recorded. So it will just automatically
be an
bump that date by 1 year. You can just note in the motion for cause shown as demonstrated in the letter.
So I'll make a motion to approve the extension of Kelly King per the request on the letter dated February 24th, 2023 for 1 year. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Daniels. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Daniels? Aye. Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
All right, I'm just, Ms. Walsh? Aye. And Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
All right. Chairman, aye, motion passes. Sorry about that. If I don't have it written down, I'll forget it in 5 minutes, so. Okay, next we have on the agenda the petition for Purslane of 318 Main Street, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a special use permit under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking a special use permit to allow alcohol service upon the restaurant premises. Lot size is 0.77 acres. A special use permit is required per the zoning ordinance, Section 301, Schedule of Use Regulation Table, and Section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property is Main and Robinson LLC for the premises located at 318 Main Street, South Kingstown. Assessors map 57-4, lot 202, and is zone CD. The use code is 56.1, restaurant with alcohol. And for documents, we have the application signed and dated January 26th of this year. Owner authorization signed and notarized January 27th. The seating plan, which is 1 page. Proposed site plan, C2, dated January 13th, 2005, with revisions on April 28th, 2005, March 24th, 2005, June 6th, 2005. And then an addendum of 15 pages, which includes cover letter, business plan, exterior photograph, Frida Sahadi resume, and Matthew Brown resume. 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Correspondence, there are 3. Stephen and Christina Brophy, Brickley's Ice Cream, Matthew and Rebecca Fisk and Jillian Kenny of Northup's Imported Car Service, and Matt Richardson of the Tilted Barn Brewery. And you are. Good evening.
My name is Matthew Brown, and thank you for having us tonight. This is Frida.
Frida Sahadi's my name.
Frida, nice to talk to you guys. Do you guys swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Could you guys spell your name, please?
Matthew Brown, MattheWBrown.
And
Frida, Freida, and my last name is Sahadi, Sahady.
okay. And tell me what is it you guys like to do?
So we are planning on opening a restaurant, and we'd love to be able to serve alcohol on the premises. Right now, we operate a food truck. It's called Butterhead. We've been doing that for this will be our 3rd season. And we're looking to expand, and we just recently signed a lease on this spot at 318 Main Street. And so we're looking to do a small bites, cold plate style, almost like a tapas bar, if you will. And we just think that including alcohol, beer, wine, and hopefully liquor would really just tie in the full experience of what we're looking to do. We also feel like at this location on Main Street could really up and change that area. It's already, so much is going on already, and we feel like we could be a huge part of that. We have so much to offer with food and wine, beer, front of the house, back of the house. We have a lot to offer the area, we feel like, and getting the special use permit would really help us become successful in terms of, hitting profit margins and just.
So tell us a little bit about the setup of the restaurant and hours of operation and so forth.
So we're looking for 12 to 8, would be maybe 9 o'clock on the weekends. So we're looking to hit the lunch and dinner. We want to do a lot of grab and go, takeout stuff. So we're not really even we're not assuming we'll be selling too much alcohol during the day, but maybe more in the afternoon, night. Inside, there's 20 seats, and then we're looking to add an additional 20 on the patio. And
So are you going to have a bar in there per se, or is it just more alcohol?
yeah, it would be an 8-seat bar inside. It's small. Or 6. Yeah, it's a tiny space, but we're trying to make the most out of it.
So you guys can have live music or anything like that? Anticipated?
No live music. I don't think we'd be able
like,
to.
Maybe like one person at one point playing a guitar or something. It's not going to be like there's
Big band?
shows, nothing
No,
like
no.
that. No.
Okay. Okay, board members, questions of the applicants?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The outside patio area, how many tables you expect to have out there?
I would probably put 10 tables, 10 two-tops.
So driving by there this evening, I see Brickley's has a number of tables out there. You intend
Right.
to use those as well?
No, so the idea is we're gonna, I think we have it in one of the pictures, but we're gonna put a planted barrier, maybe like 5 to 6 plotted, planted planters, sorry, and then string a rope in between just to separate a little bit. But you can also, we're not opposed to having Brickley's customers and Purslane customers, because not everyone's going to be drinking, but we also want everyone to have a full experience outside. So we are shooting for like a fast casual concept where you order once, there's no table service, so you order, get like a ticket number or like something that lets a food runner know where your table is. They drop it off, and that's pretty much the only.
There will be somebody out, like, on the floor at all times, like,
Yeah,
clearing
a food runner,
plates
busser.
and making sure that everything is going as planned and that everything is, like, within the boundaries that we've created as far as alcohol goes.
So is it your intent to serve alcohol outside on the patio?
We would
Yeah.
like to.
How are you going to monitor that from someone deciding, take a walk down the street and take my beer with me? How are you going to monitor that?
Well, we will have someone constantly checking the floor, checking the tables. Sorry, go ahead.
You'll be ordering and then taking it to the table, and then there'll just be somebody clearing all the plates off the table, so there's gonna be somebody out on the floor at all times. It's a very small space, so we don't assume that it's gonna be like a rowdy crowd, first of all. It's not what we're trying to promote here.
Yeah.
And second of all, there's always gonna be somebody out there seeing what's going on.
Do you intend to have some signage or something that indicates no alcohol to be taken off out of the premises?
We'll
off
most
the premise?
definitely do that,
Yeah.
yes.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been in contact with Brickley's.
Say again?
We've been in contact with Brickley's constantly about.
Yeah,
how
we have a letter on file from the owner. Yeah.
So from Mr. Gorman or Ms. Goins, what is sort of the requirements for, I'm not calling it bottle service, but it's not bottle service, for having alcohol on an outdoor location? Is there any isolation that's required or anything code-wise?
It's similar to like outdoor seating for a cafe serving. I mean, the town council would also have to approve any kind of area that was going to be serving any liquor if this were approved, but it would be tied to that plan. So if it could be designated with maybe, whether it be fencing or planters, a way to delineate it. But other than fencing everybody in, is really, I'm not certain.
Yeah, this application has overlapping jurisdiction right between the zoning board and the council, but the council is really concerned just with liquor and potentially any entertainment. Speaking of entertainment, Jamie informed me that accessory entertainment is a separate, to a restaurant or bar, is a separate line in the use table. That wasn't requested in the application or on the agenda tonight, so even one musician would trigger that requirement for the kind of additional special use permit. So I don't think you can approve that request tonight, but if they want to have entertainment at some point after the council grants their liquor license, they might be back before this board just for an amendment to this special use permit if it's granted. So a restaurant in this zone, in the CD zone, is permitted by right. They're here before you just for the liquor license as a first step before they go to the council. The other aspect of this application, I think, should be firmed up before it goes to the council desk or even before this board approves it, is the site plan noted there was a handwritten note addition of 14 patio seats for liquor license. I think the board should determine whether those are reconfigured. In other words, are 14 seats from inside being moved outside, or is this 14 additional seats for the restaurant which would trigger some additional amount of required parking.
Okay.
Let's talk about parking. Yep. How many, I mean, you don't have any private spaces there, right?
There are in the back. There's a lot in the back.
Yeah, but you got a food truck back there, correct?
It's
Yeah,
a
we
very
have-
large lot.
I'm sorry, one at a time. Go-
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
You have
Yeah,
a
there's
food truck back?
Yep.
Okay. And that intends to stay there?
We're gonna use it for catering, off-site catering. We might continue to do breweries as well, but we would like to keep it there for full-time. It's like our home base.
Will that be used during the time the restaurant and the patio is used?
We would like to, yeah. We would like to be able to use it as a kitchen almost. So if we wanted to serve like our regular menu items, guests could order that at the counter inside, and then we have we'd have a ticket system that goes to the truck, so there'd be no one would be walking down to the truck at all, other than like one single food runner.
So how many parking places in the back of your building that are allotted to your lease?
I want to say, not positive, or 25.
How many?
25.
That are specifically allotted to your lease or are open to the general public?
I thought the lot was private, but,
He's saying to our specific spot or the whole.
right. Again, I think the landlord told us that it was 25, but
We can clarify, we can get that clarified, but I think if we're talking about the back lot having 28 spaces for 6 locations, do we have to do a new calculation, or are we saying that their capacity is staying the same? Like, if they, are they asking for, oh, I should ask this. Are you asking for 14 more seats than permitted? Like, what are they permitted?
So it sounds like they're increasing their capacity, but I don't have their occupant load for the previous, was it sandwich shop or?
it was called Bowl. It was like a
was-
smoothie shop.
So what that occupancy was prior to them, what that occupant load was, maybe 20, 25, but I don't have that number.
And that could be combined inside and out? It's just 20 seats? Or do we need to have a floor plan of the facility to know where the seats are?
Occupant load is something I think that is more of a building code issue, but for this board, I think the key is if they're adding 14 seats, that's what drives the parking requirements. So I think, whatever's there now, I'm assuming there's some kind of grandfather deficiency for parking, but I think this board should look into can they provide sufficient parking on site for those 14 additional seats?
Would we have to then have the rest of the buildings calculated that use that lot?
One thing you can do, given that they're here tonight without a parking plan, we don't have the numbers, is if you grant the application, you can make it subject to the condition that the applicant provide a parking plan to the building official who will review and confirm sufficient parking for, again, just the 14 seats that are proposed to be added. If that doesn't happen, I think they would need to come and add some kind of parking relief to their application.
But if they found that they do have 25 seats, and it doesn't matter if they're 14 inside, 9 outside? Is that right? No, 11, whatever. Whatever the proper addition is. If they just stuck to that number and didn't add any more, then they wouldn't have to submit the parking?
I don't think parking would come into play if they weren't, tonight, if they weren't proposing to add 14 seats.
So the question is, are you adding 14 seats, or are you just moving the seats you have around, and you're going to put 14 of them outside?
Yeah, it would be like a separate patio set tables, sort of like what Brickley has outside, just
No, meaning that, are you trying to increase your capacity that you can have at that location? Are you asking for 14 more seats, or are you just saying 14 of those seats are going to be outside?
I would say
Make sense?
an extra, yeah, an additional 14.
Additional 14?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're saying is that we would need to have a sort of a parking plan as to what the occupancy is of each space.
So the number of required spaces is based on the number of seats. So if they had 30 seats in the CD zone, or rather for a restaurant, they'd be required to have one space for every 3 seats. And within the CD zone, they'd be able to reduce that even further in half. So if 30 seats, they'd be required to have 10 spaces, but in the CD zone, you can reduce it by half, so 5 total.
5, now, will we have to know that those other spaces are being used by 330, 328, 326 as well? Like, we would have to know those capacities to know who's using that lot?
I think since what Amy was saying is the outdoor increase, the 14, if we can account for those.
Right, but what if they're, I guess I'm saying, what if they're at capacity with the buildings they have there already?
Yeah, I mean, the parking plan that was submitted looks like it was done in accounting for everything, but I think that'd be cumulative, to make sure that there's enough for all the buildings, agreed 6 buildings.
So they would need to have someone sort of really kind of survey this for them to figure out the seats in every establishment that then dictates their requirement for spots. And see
Exactly.
if there's enough left over for them to add 14.
To know for certain, absolutely.
And they would have to do some homework, and the town can assist with that, because there may be grandfathered deficiencies, right, for the uses in this complex.
And you guys would be able to help them sort of identify sort of what was previously approved and so forth?
We can use the plan that we have, the parking plan, and help them, point them in the right direction and review what they come up with. Yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like what we're saying is that if you're asking for the 14 additional seats outside, we need to have sort of the parking spaces to sort of fit that, right?
Okay.
So it's a matter of then determining how the site satisfies the parking in terms of all the buildings that use that parking relative to sort of this.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And because there isn't any, you can't use street parking per se.
To be off-street park.
It has to be off-street parking. They can't use public parking, state or town as well, across the street.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question related to that, or a clarification. Sure. Because we've talked a lot of numbers, a lot of parking. You're planning for 20 seats inside, including the bar seats?
Yes.
And then 14, I thought I heard you say 20 outside, but only 14.
Yeah, I mean,
Total of about
14 is what we accounted for.
34 seats total.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, Mr. Gorman, don't we have a downtown comprehensive parking space? Because I don't think any of the merchants I know downtown have parking, except Northrop's. And that's when you're getting your car repaired. People use the city lot or the street. So would you work off of a comprehensive plan to aid them to identify spaces, or they have to come up with their own separate parking plan?
I think they have the plan showing the spaces. We just have to account for the 3 additional that it sounds like they may need. They're asking.
Plan that's posted now,
Correct.
and the picture that showed 2 spaces in the back? The photo?
I'm sorry, which?
There was a photo that showed two spaces in the back in the driveway,
Well, in the back, there's the 28 that they have.
but there was a photo up.
Yeah, oh, I'm not sure.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, I don't think they have any seats now. I think that the site plan that's with the application indicates, I count 18, Ms. Walsh counted 20, but they don't have any now, right? I mean, you're not open, you don't have any seats. But your site plan shows 18 inside, and your testimony says 14 outside, that's 32. That's the potential here that we're looking at. So how does that translate into parking, off-street parking?
I think we need the total indoor, and then the 14 is what they're asking for, the outdoor, correct?
They're projecting 18. It's an empty building, there's none now. But what I'm getting at, the total looks like, the total occupancy looks like it's gonna be 32, 34, in that range.
I think we'd have to be accountable for the total seating, indoor, outdoor, so if,
So I think it's a matter of looking through previous approvals as well as to what was earmarked for those particular locations and how these spots back in 2004 were sort of parsed out relative to their buildings and to make sure that you guys have the capacity to kind of fit that. It won't necessarily, determine if you can serve alcohol or not. It's just a matter of how many seats you can have
Right.
in the end.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're just trying to make sure that we're going to tell you the right way to go forward in
Right.
getting the approval for those additional seats.
Okay.
But it's a little bit more complicated because there are these surrounding buildings that use that same lot.
Right.
So it's going to have to be a little bit of collaboration as to what was approved already for this lot relative to those buildings to make
Right.
sure you guys can have the seats you have.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, we were just going off of base of what Bowl was doing before.
And it may work. I think we just don't have that data, I think, to know what was previously approved. But it doesn't have to hold up the approval of this per se. We still, you can still split it up and let's say you're allowed only 20, you can have 10 inside, 10 outside if we're saying you can have them outside.
Right.
It's just a matter of the final seats. Does that make sense?
Yep, of course.
Did you guys have something to add or?
I was just going to say that, yeah, having a firm number indoor and outdoor to identify where, if they're deficient, if they need additional parking, would be needed. And then there was another document showing that there was 20 indoor seats and 30 outdoor proposed. So just to make sure all the paperwork and numbers are in line on the application.
So
Yeah, that may have been including Brickley's tables as well, which we're not planning on
Okay.
using.
Nope.
So it was
just tell us so
Okay.
exactly like how many do you want inside and how many do you want outside?
Gotcha.
So are you thinking 20 inside, 14 outside? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. So 34 total? 20 inside, 14 outside. Okay. Okay. Does that make sense, what you guys are going to have to do going forward about the seats?
Yes.
Does anybody have any other questions about that? Some other questions. Other question, yeah, just, we can move on from that, right? Okay. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you got it.
I wanted to check, you're planning to serve hard liquor as well as beer and wine.
Right.
Is there any possibility you could start with beer and wine, and does that require, Amy, a revisit to the?
Would have to go back before the council if they were initially granted a limited liquor license. They wouldn't have to come back before this board.
If it were just beer and wine?
Yeah, frankly, I wouldn't think the board, to me, it's either alcohol or not as the jurisdiction of the zoning board, but the council can get specific about what type of booze is served.
Okay, and you all have an approval for, you're coming here for the liquor license, but the council has looked, have they looked at it already, or they will look at it?
Applicants who need relief from the zoning board and then a liquor license from the council always come to the zoning board first.
First, okay.
The next step would be the council for the hearing on the liquor license.
Mr. Diamond? Oh,
Yeah, I guess I just want to understand the precedent for other businesses on Main Street or just in Wakefield in general. I feel like this particular building is very unique in that you have a pretty massive parking lot right behind it, which is not really a common thing in town. So I feel like it's kind of gravy in a way. I guess it's a question for Mr. Gorman, who understands this a bit better than me. How would it work if that parking lot didn't exist at all? Because I feel like this is the kind of development that we should encourage. So I would like to see this happen, but I don't want to get hung up on a situation of like parking. You know, I think that bringing more people to downtown is a really important catalyst for our town. So how does it work for like Duck Press or Phil's they don't have a parking lot assigned to them?
So it would all be based on the lot that the business is on. So if there's 0 parking and they want to establish a 30 or 40 seat restaurant, there's sufficient parking, town lot, on Main Street parking. But if you can't meet the requirement, you'd have to ask for dimensional relief. And I think the commercial downtown allows the 50% reduction, so you get relief, by the ordinance on that end. But if you can't meet the minimum, you'd have to ask for a variance.
Got it. Okay. I'm just trying to understand because this seems like an anomaly of a site that even has the parking.
We'd also like to add a bike, like maybe 10 bike rack, and really promote people coming off the bike path. And there's tons of foot traffic, so we're gonna really try to promote that as much as possible, which I think will also pull some relief.
Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are several other requirements for a special use permit, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about those.
Okay.
One is, or 3 combined, is trash, storage, and delivery areas.
Yep.
You intend to serve draft or bottles or cans or what?
So we're hoping to get at least a 2-tap system, very small, like a kegerator. Yep. And hopefully offer 6 to 8 different types of beers and cans.
So where are you going to store your alcohol?
We're gonna store it in,
It's a small building, I know, that's why I'm asking the question.
right, we're gonna store it in the fridges. We have a bunch of refrigeration in there.
Inside the building?
Yep.
You have a basement in the building?
No basement, no.
Where are you going to store the cases of cans and bottles?
We're gonna order accordingly and just stock the fridges as we need.
It's gonna have to be frequent ordering.
You're not going to intend to store it outside
No.
anywhere?
There is
No.
no storage outside.
Yeah, it's a very tight space with storage, so we need to be very diligent with what we order and how much.
So cans and bottles generates waste. What's your plan on handling waste?
So we use, for fryer oil, we use Newport Reuse. It's a company out of Newport that recycles the vegetable oil. We work with Vermicast Tree Magic Worms. He's actually our neighbor, and he does a lot of recycling of food, composting, so pretty much all of our food waste
You're going to
will
have
be sorted.
You're going to have a dumpster,
There is a dumpster of recycling in the back, yes.
recycling and normal solid waste.
Yep.
So 2 dumpsters separated?
Yes, they're already there.
Okay. And with regard to delivery, I don't imagine you can get a delivery truck back in there, can you?
Yeah, there's actually
Yeah, I've seen the
pizza
18-wheelers
it's
gets
like a
back there.
Huge, it's
Okay.
amazing how he gets in and out of there, but he does it.
All right, let's talk about signs and exterior lighting. Any plans for a sign?
Yeah, we're gonna get we have a hand-painted signage guy coming down from Providence, and he's gonna do like one solid thing in the middle panel, if you will. And then whatever lighting is already on the building is sort of keep that.
What about lighting the patio area if you're open till 8 o'clock at night? How are you going to handle that?
I think there's just enough light coming off of what's already on the buildings as it is.
You can see
Because
there's
it's very, a small space, and it pretty much lights up the entire patio.
the signage will be the image that you see on the first page of the business plan. It's gonna be that, not necessarily those colors, but in like a neutral color painted onto the brick.
Yeah,
It won't be a lighted sign?
no. We're not trying to really draw too much attention, but we really want to keep it clean and simple.
Okay, that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Any other questions from board members? Ms. Hicks?
Do you all have?
I mean, Ms. Walsh, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a little bit more about the food service. So you're really going to be cooking in the food truck? Or do
Right,
you have
or
a kitchen in?
We have a kitchen inside with a small convection oven, a few fridges, like garde stations. We'll do oysters, stuff like that, raw bar.
So you'll do a raw bar? Raw bar. And what do you serve out of the food truck?
So right now we do like smash burgers, banh mi's, hand-cut
What was the
fries.
second thing?
A banh mi, it's a Vietnamese style sandwich. Yeah, with,
So basically sandwiches, and you've got
yeah, that's our
got a grill in
concept.
there. So your customers can go into order oysters and things and
Right.
eat inside, hopefully if it's a raw bar. And then the other folks can order right outside from,
Well, actually, everyone will order inside. So we want to direct the traffic away
so
from
the
the truck.
ordering will all be done inside. You'll
Inside.
have one cashier, one person
Right,
taking orders.
exactly. So you can order at the front host stand, if you will, a dozen oysters and a banh mi and a beer. And then pretty much, once you make that transaction, then that's pretty much the fast casual aspect of
That's
it.
it for that customer to
Right,
come back.
exactly.
And you're going to be like Bolo and Rickley's, people will order, get their food, and
Right.
they'll probably end up sitting down and eating wherever they feel like it.
Right, yeah,
You'll have somebody at the restaurant within the cordoned area to make sure people are,
of course,
if they
yes.
want to sit down, they'll find seats and they.
Right, yep.
Makes sense. So not like table-side service, with a waiter or something like that.
No, we'll have people touching tables, but just like checking in, but no one's taking orders at the table.
And about the food truck, are you able to sort of directly connect that to either power or,
Yeah, but it connects to the power, so there's no generator. And then again, we have a printer, Ethernet cord ran out to the truck, so.
do you
pretty
need
much-
any additional lighting for that outside, or is there sufficient?
No, there's
Accurate.
lights, there's one light on the truck, and then inside the truck, there's lighting.
Outside light does not need to be on, though, if it's causing an issue. Well, it's just to light up the menu. It's like a little
Yeah.
light above the menu.
Okay. I mean, it should be lesser of an issue being in the back. There aren't any, and the adjacent houses are about 30 feet above you.
Yeah, the parking lights are putting off more lights than the truck will.
So you'll have enough just for that?
Yeah.
My more concern was just making sure that you're not running a generator to,
No generator. We try to use that as little as possible. It's more for like off-site catering.
yeah, okay. Any other questions? Ms. Walsh?
Now I forgot. I'm on your speed.
I'm having a tough night.
Yeah, but I'd be interested, seems like you're planning to compost a lot of the food waste,
Right, pretty much all of it, yeah.
and you ran the food truck you have run it for 3 years successfully, 30 customers, 34. Anyways, you successfully ran Butterfield, the food truck, all over the state of Rhode Island for 3 years.
Right.
And you've had it operating out of a single location at any time during those 3 years?
Like
Or is it always
serving
on-
food to one single location?
Well, like it's going to be parked here as part of your plan.
Right.
You ever had it parked anywhere for 6 months and served food out of it?
No, we never really we get pulled in so many different directions that it's kind of,
All over Rhode Island.
right. And I thought that was pretty much our main, that was like our idea, was to build a customer base throughout Rhode Island with the truck.
Now they know where you are.
Right, and now we finally have somewhere we can call home, and the location's perfect for it, so.
And where'd you get the name?
The name, so the Butterhead lettuce.
Oh, no, the purslane?
So purslane is Frida can probably explain that better.
It's an herb. It's just like it's actually a weed. You'll see it growing in the sidewalk sometimes, but it's something that my grandmother had in her garden growing up, and it grows well with tomatoes. I don't know. It's like a fresh herb basically. It's a little homage to my grandmother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're planning on actually growing some of it in the back of the building, so it'll be there.
Cool. That's cool. Any other questions, board members? So you know, I'm sure you're aware, you got 3 letters from the community that we talked about. One is from Brickley's, which opens tomorrow. I don't work for them, but you know, I might as well. I'm an investor of many years. But they fully support the application for serving liquor at the establishment. They have had the opportunity to meet and speak with Matt and Frida as their plans for the business. They're excited to have them. They have no intention of operating a bar business that serves food, rather that they want to have a food offering at which a customer can also have a drink. We will be sharing some common area seating. It is important to us that we work together for the benefit of our customers and our respective businesses. We are confident that we will be good neighbors to one another in the community. Butterhead will be a nice addition to Main Street and the town in general, providing an additional option and variety to the various establishments currently available. In doing so, other Main Street area businesses will benefit as the new patrons visit Butterhead. And they agree with the old adage, a rising tide floats all boats. That's cute. The other is from Northup's. They want to convey their full support. And they believe they'll be a great asset to the Main Street community. They have no concerns relating to the issues of the special use permit. They have faith in the owners that Matt and Frida will operate responsibly. We hope that you will agree and that our well-founded assessment, and look forward to our patronizing their establishment. And then the other is from Tilted Barn Brewery. They tout the success Matt and Frida have earned over the past couple years, and that it's nothing short of remarkable. We host a rotating schedule of food trucks at the Tilted Barn 5 days a week. Throughout the year, we work with over 20 creative and successful food trucks who all do an excellent job. Of those 20 trucks, Matt and Frida have always stood head and shoulders above the rest in terms of quality of their product, dependability, and professionalism. And they go on to say that we have strong following of customers here and are fortunate to always have a packed tap room. While majority of the customers enjoy having food trucks while they're here, that's not the only reason they visit the Tilted Barn. So they've been the only food truck that we host that draws a crowd every time. So they like you guys. So, so I think, you know, obviously there's much appreciation for the business you guys run and the character that you both have. So you know that this does follow the building. So any considerations or restrictions that are put on this are relative to this special use sort of following the building. Not so much just you guys. So I think if we're pointing out things like music and things like that, there's always, even though one person that's applying for it will do one thing, someone following can have sort of something more extreme. So so just keep that in mind as we continue the discussion here.
Okay.
Do you guys have anything else to add at this point?
I would like to say that although we are trying to get ability to sell alcohol. Food is like foremost what we're about. And this would happen with or without it, honestly, but in terms of just business, actually being able to be successful, I think, for anyone to sell alcohol is really almost the only way to actually make money in this business. We've been doing it for a long time, but food is what we're about. Supporting local farmers, the whole nine, is what we've been doing for so long, so.
I'm also a firm believer that I think that like a glass of wine really like enhances the experience when you're having a nice meal. So for me, that's part of the whole thing.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicants, board members?
Are you going to serve coffee?
Yes, we will have coffee.
Good coffee. We used to go to, I mean, not together, but we used to,
I would see Susan at Bull occasionally.
and I can tell you exactly how many seats they had, but I'm not going to bore my colleagues.
It's a great location, and
Right.
I didn't mean to ask any stupid questions about the parking. My apologies. I think it's a good thing for the neighborhood. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you, and we'll see if anybody has anything to say in the audience, and then we'll just talk about it and let you guys know.
Alrighty.
Is there anyone out there? Oh, you're welcome. Yes, and sit down. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak on behalf of this petition? No? Okay. Board members, seems like we have, oh, I'm sorry, support or opposition? Didn't I ask? Oh, well, okay. So is there anyone here that opposes it? All right. So it seems like the consideration of the seating, the hours, seems like we have other criteria that were already satisfied that Mr. Daniels asked, but those seem to be the most things, that they're the biggest things. Does someone have a sense as to what they'd like to suggest, or any general thoughts? Mr. Daniels?
Certainly appreciate the effort and the profit motive and the reason for wanting to have alcohol service. I totally get it. The only thing I personally always uncomfortable with is alcohol in an open area that's not enclosed. That just is a personal thing with me, and I don't intend to vote against your application, but I'm just expressing my personal concern, and that's why I asked those questions about how are you going to police that. You have families with ice cream next door. I know Brickley's supports your effort, but that's a personal concern. So.
Okay. Ms. Walsh?
I feel similar, but I would feel a lot more comfortable if I had the power to do just beer and wine.
Right.
Because I think generally beer and wine are more controllable, and I think you can do it in plastic, so you don't have to worry about, I guess you can do mixed drinks in plastic, but it seems to make it more complicated. So I guess even if they're granted a liquor permit, they could start with beer and wine to see how it flows. So, but that's my only concern.
I have a question for Ms. Goins. Can we just say the drink is inside? Like, can we restrict it to just the inside, or the?
Restrict the liquor service area to inside, you can. That's a reasonable condition. They would have to come back before this board and the town council if they wanted to extend that at some point in the future.
Okay, but under their petition today, we can restrict it to just.
You can, and I remember the issue of liquor service outside in some kind of defined yet not strictly defined area coming before, that's been a concern on other applications. So you could either limit it to inside, or you can add a condition that any outside liquor service area shall be, sufficiently delineated, demarcated, however you want to word it, which the council will probably require anyway.
Okay. So, hearing that, Mr. Diamond?
I mean, I think that makes it a little, in my opinion, a bit clunky, just operationally for them. Like, okay, you have to sit here because of this, then this gets filled up. I think there are two things that are important to me when I consider this application, and it's more than just this application, but it's more thinking about the comprehensive plan of South Kingstown, which is really promoting a vibrant downtown that's lively, walkable. Excuse me, I keep forgetting to do this. Promoting thinking about our comp plan and really promoting a vibrant, walkable, bike-friendly downtown, which is precisely what they're trying to do. And I think that this is kind of the epicenter of downtown. It's literally right in the center of everything. So I think, I mentioned this not in context of alcohol inside or outside. It's more about, I think, the parking. I know that they have maybe a journey ahead of them, it sounds like, in terms of working with the building department and sort of sussing through their site plan to see what the available spaces are. But I hope that consideration is given towards the comprehensive plan and the fact that this is literally right on the bike path. I think it's really, really important to consider that. It's not just a project in a vacuum. It's not like it's, out in space somewhere. It's literally right in the center of everything. So I think it's really important that we think of those things, because this is going to sort of lay the foundation. It's kind of like all boats rise with the tide sort of commentary there. I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Hicks, have any thoughts?
I'll preface my remarks by reminding people I can't vote. But in listening to the discussion, I think that the Zoning Board of Review needs to keep in mind that the issue you're going to vote on is the special use permit. I come to this board with a background having been on a town council. Leave the specifics of the liquor license up to the council. It's councils that grant liquor licenses, not zoning. So you're being asked to either approve or not approve a special use permit.
Right. Okay. It is to allow liquor to be served. Yes.
Right.
I guess you're saying the mechanics of how it works, of whether, like, which seats are having liquor versus which seats are not.
Yes.
Right.
And the other thing that I picked up from what they were saying is that everybody will order inside. There will be no reserved tables. You wouldn't call and make a reservation, I assume. So if somebody orders, and as part of their order, they have a beer or a glass of wine, and they look inside and there's no table, then what? They sit outside.
Right.
Well, did they then not get their drink because the only table available is outside?
Right.
And the outside seating, see, now you've got me wound up. The outside seating would be seasonal. In the winter, nobody would be outside. So for a good portion, well, I mean, a good portion of the year, it's
Right.
not really suitable for outside.
Mr. Rosen?
I don't have anything to add. It's been thoroughly discussed. And, I think this is a good, it's on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Just that I have a mask on and
yes.
I'm a little hoarse tonight, so. No, I will vote for this petition and stop there, since you can't hear me anyhow. So.
I can hear you. No, that makes sense. I mean, for me, I've Tavern on Main serves alcohol on the sidewalk. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if I guess they do as well. And it doesn't seem like a lot of spillover is happening. Duck Press has a bar. Phil's, their outdoor bar, and it seems like that. I was just down in New Orleans last week, and It's not New Orleans. It's not Bourbon Street, I'll tell you that. So, I mean, I don't particularly have the concerns of it being on the street per se. I think, you know, there might be some benefit to identifying the seating areas, because when Brickley's gets busy, sort of people will sit anywhere. You know, and I remember during the pandemic, there were almost fistfights on there because you couldn't stand around for too long. But, so I think it's just a matter of knowing that, you know, even though you guys are sharing it and so forth, hopefully you guys are really busy and there's a real demand for seats. So I would think just having an area identified would be helpful for the business, but also if it were to identify sort of the serving area, but I don't think it needs to be emblazoned with special. I don't think you need a yellow rope, but I do think, I mean, there are some natural barriers in the front already. There are those posts that kind of go in the ground that can have chains to them and so forth to sort of identify that spot. So I think there are some ways that you might already be able to do it without much change. But I think just for the purpose of the people sitting there, they might want to have their own area. So I don't have a particular area. I mean, I live right up the street. I remember when it was the Emerald Glass, so it was, you know, my memory goes way back. So I think it's great that the space is being used, the building's being used. It's a neat little gas station. So I'm happy that you guys are finding a good use for it. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't think it really needs a restriction, but again, that's me. And so I think if whoever is making the motion, whoever would like to make the motion, can identify whatever they want for the area outside, and then we can sort of vote on it from there or discuss. So that's my general thought. So is there anyone that would like to make a motion in particular? No? Okay, so I'll make the motion. You sure? I'm going to double the palms. Double the palms? Well, just be mindful that whatever you do say, it would have to be there in perpetuity. So just be mindful of that. Like, don't plant arborvitaes in the middle of that, yeah, in that walkway. So I think if you're going to say, yeah, so there you go.
.318 Main Street in Wakefield for a special use permit in order to allow alcohol service upon the restaurant premises. A special use permit is required per zoning ordinance section 301, schedule of use regulations table, and section 907, standards of relief. The owners of the property, or the leasers of the property, are Matthew Brown and Frida Shahadi, and they both spoke to the board in terms of providing background for the petition. Let's see. The board finds that the special use is specifically authorized by the ordinance because what they would like to do for their restaurant, which is focusing on food, is to serve alcohol along with the food. The board finds that the special use does meet all of the criteria set forth in the subsection of this ordinance authorizing such special use because we discussed various aspects of the parking, the waste matter, the ingress and egress to the lot of the delivery truck, and trash storage and delivery areas, as well as the utilities and the screening and buffering and the signs, all of which, according to their testimony, appears to be in line with the building already there and the atmosphere of this area in the center of town, center of the main street. They plan to put up a modest sign. They plan to use the lighting that is currently available. They would like to put additional seats from what was there before, and that is something they're going to have to work out with the building inspector in terms of the parking and where the additional seats are located. The board discussed concerns with the alcohol outside, and Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that they clearly demarcate the area outside the restaurant in which the liquor would be served. And I guess we can put that in for the planning board, the town council. No one spoke in favor, no one spoke in opposition to the petition, but there were letters of support from the neighbors, the neighboring businesses who see this as a very positive development for that area. And there was also a letter of support as to the character and the nature of the delicious food served by Butterfield truck. So their character reference, food reference, and then the neighbors are very pleased to have this development. So I don't think it needs to be a condition, but the recommendation would be to clearly demarcate the area for the outdoor seating. And with that, I recommend approval of this petition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosen. Any other discussion? Jamie, do we need any more for as to what a demarcation means, or is that just a suggestion for the town council?
I think if it's just a recommendation for the council, we don't need to be more specific than that.
Perfect.
Double the palms.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that seemed to fit in pretty well with the way Ms. Hicks was describing sort of our role, so thank you.
Actually, we should
So any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels, or Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels? Aye. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you guys down there. When do you open? Hopefully mid-April. Excellent. Good luck. So next we have the petition of James P. Howe of 7 Quagnut Drive in Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879 for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a 10-foot by 28-foot deck with wraparound stairs attached to the existing dwelling. The new deck will be located 21 feet from the property line. The required front yard setback is 25 feet. Therefore, a relief of 4 feet is requested. The deck will increase the nonconformity lot coverage from 23 to 29%. The maximum lot coverage is 20. Relief of 9% is requested. Lot size is 7,895 feet. A dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 207, nonconforming lots of record. Setback requirements, section 907 are standards of relief. Owner of the property is James F. Howe for premises located at 7 Quagnut Drive, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 64-4, Lot 1, and is zoned R40. For this application, we have the signed and dated application on February 9th of this year. The owner authorization signed and notarized on February 8th. Land survey, 1 page, prepared by Dowdell Engineering Associates LLC and stamped by Richard L. Cushan, PLS, dated February 7th of this year. 1 photo, 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening. And
You are?
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Yes, I'm James Howe,
Could you spell your name for us, please?
Howe.
And do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. So what would you like to do?
Okay, as the application is requesting, I'm trying to build a deck I don't know if you've been by the property at all. It's on the corner of Quagnut and Winchester, over in, I guess, Billington, kind of Billington Cove is called the neighborhood. It's a nice lot. When I first looked at the house, I was like, hey, great, you know, corner lot, the whole thing. What I didn't realize until we surveyed it was that the size of the lot is a lot smaller than it appears. So the good news is, I guess, you know, I have less square footage to pay taxes on. And then, of course, I do have to, you know, I cut the grass and in what is really a great part of the town setback. So I think I have given you a picture in all which sort of shows you, if you've driven by. So the lot line is really only about 12 feet off the front of the house on the Winchester side. The line to the roadway is probably another 25 feet. But that's just the nature of it, okay? So if you look at the house and if you look at will be on the right side, that's where the deck is going to go. There's a large holly bush there that is going to provide some privacy. So the request is to build a deck, and the variance is requesting that the front side of the deck, right, if you were looking at the deck itself, it would be the left side towards Winchester, is encroaching in that 5 foot setback. Or I'm sorry, it's encroaching 5 feet within that setback. The lot's coverage is also something that, again, is a mathematical computation, I recognize. And again, it's something to do with a pretty small lot that looks a little bigger, but it's a pretty small lot. So that's really basically the request. I know that there's particular requirements under the statute, on the ordinance, I should say. There was certainly no prior action on my part to bring this about, nor do I believe that the requested relief would alter any general characteristics of the neighborhood. You know, it's plenty of people got decks. Plenty of people have decks in the neighborhood. I believe the relief is the least. The relief to be granted is the least relief necessary. One of the things that we did in looking at the lot and the deck and the dimensions, you know, you have a slider that's going to come out, and I've been a lawyer a long time, and a lot of my work is in the area of personal injury, premises liability, things of that nature. And I felt it was kind of important to make sure that you had, you know, an area on each side of the egress portion so that you could walk around. You know, it's not a very high deck. It's only going to be one stair down to the ground. So as a result, there's no need for railings on it. But I felt it was important to have, you know, if you want to put a table, you want to make sure it's not too close to the edge. You want to make sure that there's some balance there. So I felt that, you know, under the requirement that it would amount to more than a mere inconvenience, and I think that does. I think it adds to not only to the use of it, quite frankly, the bigger the deck, the less grass I have to cut, and that's not a bad thing. But with that said, there was an idea with, you know, make it balanced, give enough room on each side of the egress, the slider, so that, you know, we'd never run into a situation where, you know, you put a table on a deck and you put some chairs on a deck and people are getting up and moving around. They have enough room. So respectfully, I ask for granting of the petition for the relief requested.
And is that rebar found on Winchester Drive, that rebar is on the grass? Or is that because on your plot plan, it shows a rebar, and it's 26 feet away from your property line, and you said that it seems like that's about the edge of the road right there.
That is about the edge of the road, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
I've actually got I think I submitted a kind of a, I don't know where, I got this picture from the website, which shows kind of the radius map, and then I drew a red line on it to show what is the edge of the roadway. So yeah, when you look at my lot, you're like, wow, it's a nice big corner lot, as I looked at it when I first looked at it, but it turns out to be not that big a corner lot.
Yeah, no. And have you spoken to the neighbors to your east?
Yes, Mary Hall, who's, I know her by her former surname of Mary Galogly, has been very positive about it. We talk frequently. She got the letter and approached me walking her dog and said she has no problem with it. The neighbors, if you look at the house from Winchester, the neighbor on Quagnut, which is an empty lot, used to be the Girl Scout camp back in the old days. That's Mr. and Mrs. Krolicki. Mrs. Krolicki and I have spoken a couple of times. She's lovely. She had questions, where is it? Is it on our side? What side? And she's in full support of it also. Obviously, they're not here, but I did, under oath, I can tell you that I spoke with both of them, and they were both in approval.
Well, they certainly didn't send anything in to say that they're opposed, so.
And thank you, they did.
Yeah,
No, they did.
so it makes sense. Okay, board members, any questions for the applicant? Ms. Walsh? Bill, oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Any other-
When did you purchase this property?
I bought the property, it was 3 years last September, so September 19. And I've
Was it
been,
you that came before this board previously with that property?
I did not, no, I did not. There was a,
The reason I ask is because the first time I went over there, there was a petition to improve the property considerably. It was in pretty bad shape when I got over there. It took me a while to figure out where it was.
and I can give you the insight on that, sir. So at the time, that was a petition filed by DeStefano Builders. They actually we put an addition on that side of the house, which is the, let's see, more the Quagnut side of the house. Again, the house sits, again, a little more hard by the roadway on that side than, again, I thought until it was surveyed. So there was a 160 square foot eventually, and the inside, I don't know exactly what the dimensions were. And we needed relief because, again, it was sort of in the setback. So you are correct. The house was a little run down when I bought it. And we've undertaken a pretty significant, rehabilitation of it. The house was built in 1940 and just finished. The last bit of the puzzle is the deck. And finished the garage. It's got nice siding on, the whole thing. Really, the whole thing's been done. Started in the middle of, COVID, so and then have now finished the remainder of it.
Well, they did a very nice job because I went out there about last week, I guess it was,
Oh, thank you.
and it looks much improved.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
But I have a suggestion. Can you put the address somewhere on the house?
I appreciate that. Kelly has been on my case about putting a nice new mailbox up there. So we are going to do that. The funny part of this house, amongst a few things, is that the address is on Quagnut. But the
Yes,
front door,
I know.
the front door is on Winchester. So right when I bought it, the mailman in the area, Fred Rose, is a guy I know, so I know I saw it one day, I was like, hey, Freddie, why can't I just change? Can't I just go with the Winchester address, And he was like, his eyes glazed over, you got to talk to the post office, all this kind of stuff. So, that said, I can tell you unquestionably, we will be putting a nice new mailbox on Quagnut with a big number 7 on it. But I do appreciate what you're saying. The house is sort of, the front door is really not the front door because it's, anybody who would park there would be parking, on maybe the street and all that. So the back door is really the front door and the front door is really the back door.
To get back to the petition,
Yeah?
the deck is going to be wraparound?
No, the stairs would be, so if you take a look at the plan, so the deck is just straight, and then the stair is going to run along the front and then go around the side of the stair, the width of the deck, which is really into the property, not the side that is the quote-unquote encroaching side.
And it's going to be parallel to Winchester, the deck.
The deck, it's really not. It's really parallel. It's on the back of the house, right? It really runs along the length of the back of the house. So the parallel line would really be with Quagnut.
Okay, I guess I'm confused as to what the back and the front are.
All right.
There's a drawing up here.
Okay, maybe I can show you that. So you'll see it says obviously existing house number 7, and to the right, it says proposed deck. The front line, that line of the lot, which says 100 feet, that is the Winchester side. Okay? The side that says, you can see the word Quagnut written there. So that is the Winchester side. So just in response to your question, I think the parallel of the deck, the line of the deck, I would suggest is more on Quagnut than certainly the shorter end of the width of the deck, that parallel is to Winchester.
Okay.
If that answers your question, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, any other questions?
The lot, see where it says, you see the existing garage? There's a lot on that side, Quagnut. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of space there, right?
Sorry. The work that's being completed now was approved 3 years ago? Or
Yes.
when
Oh,
you
two years and change ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all, that's done, and it has been done for
It
quite a
sounds
while.
like it was just up and the garage.
I'm
What
sorry.
the modifications you made to the house before this one,
Right,
you added a second bathroom and approximately 150 square feet to the house.
correct.
And I have to say, the changes you're making, the modifications plus the porch, seem very comparable to what the neighborhood looks like. I mean, I think it fits well.
Oh, thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood, you know, really nice neighborhood. There's like down, you know, you go down the hill a little bit, and some of those houses on the water have really been either redone or have been kept really well. There's one new construction that's pretty magnificent there, so it's a nice neighborhood, you know.
Any other board members, questions? No? Okay. Anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone out there in support or opposition to this petition? Do you want to advocate for a number on the house? All right. So hearing no comments out there, any discussion of any kind, or someone like to make a motion? Go for it. Thank you. You can sit down if you like.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Is this,
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the petition. Just mix this up. Of James Howe for 7 Quagnut Drive. James Howe spoke in support of the request. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at this. Okay, sorry. So James Howe spoke as representative. He was the applicant, and he also presented the project. No one spoke in opposition or support of the matter. No additional materials read into the record. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure, and not due to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant, except, okay, am I supposed to read that line? Is that correct? The disabilities line, is that right? Okay. Okay, okay, got it. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant, accepting those disabilities addressed in section 452430 of the zoning ordinance. Those don't apply to this project. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire for the applicant to realize greater financial gain. It was very evident that this applicant lives in the home and is not trying to do this purely for boosting the value of the property solely. Obviously, doing an improvement like this does increase the property's value, but that doesn't seem to be the driving force behind the project. It's clearly just to be able to have an appropriate level of enjoyment of the property and being able to create a safe space to be outside and have the proper clearances on either side of the functional gathering space of the deck. The board finds that granting the requested variance will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. This seems to be very compatible, in my opinion, to the surrounding structures in the neighborhood. It seems to be, mostly sort of tucked away on the side of the house, and again, very much in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary. This does not seem to be, in my opinion, sort of pushing the envelope or the boundaries of relief. It seems to be very reasonable and in scale with the home. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience. I think for the enjoyment of the property, being able to actually utilize a lot that is already smaller than what appears to be the boundaries of the site from looking at it from outside. It is not a very large yard, and it's not a very large home. Being able to add this space and I think maximizes the enjoyment, reasonable enjoyment of the property, and does not seem like if it wasn't granted, it definitely would amount to more than a mere inconvenience. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with no conditions.
Excellent. Motion is made by Mr. Diamond. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Rosen. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels? Aye. Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Enjoy the home. No problem. Thank you. Yeah. Right. We're very lucky to have him, so thank you. You're not the first, which is good. Thank you. So next up, we do have the petition of Mr. Stephen Patton of 49 Addison Pond Road in Glastonbury, Connecticut for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct additions to the single-family dwelling, including a wraparound deck. The deck will be located 11.4 feet from the side property line and 27.8 feet from the front property line. The required yard setback is 13 feet, therefore a relief of 1.6 feet is requested. The front yard setback is 35 feet, whereas a relief of 7.2 feet is requested. The lot size is 0.27 acres. A dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 207, non-conforming lots of record, building setback requirements in section 907, which is our standards of relief. The owners of the property are Stephen D. and Susan L. Patton for the premises located at 126 Prospect Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 93-1, Lot 18, and is zoned R20. And for this, we have the application signed and dated February 3rd of this year. Owner authorization signed and notarized February 9th. First and second floor plans, elevations, 3 pages prepared on 2022 by Home Design Services. Site plan of 1 page prepared by Priscilla and Walsh Associates dated January 27th of this year. 200-foot radius map, abutters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Hi,
And you are?
Steve Patton,
Patton.
P-A-T-T-O-N.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So tell us what you like to do.
So we're renovating our house, and it's going to become it's a little loud up here, and it's to become our permanent address after we finish. We're going to be moving out of Connecticut and becoming permanent Glastonbury residents. My wife actually is from Cranston, and she's moving home, and I'm going to be moving here with her. She's going to be retiring at the end of June. She's a teacher in Connecticut right now, and that's why she's not here. She's teaching this week. So in the process, we are adding a second story to our house, and the whole purpose, the design is really to maximize the southern exposure to the house, as well as the views of the pond, which is in the front. I think the Seaweed Pond or Seaweed Cove. And in the back, we actually have a marsh, which kind of overlooks Potter's, or the trailer and the new possible development of condos back there. But we are not changing the front nor the side footprint of the house foundation. The south front corner of the house is 35 feet from the road, and that's just what we bought in 2013. There are currently 2 decks. One is on the front and one is on the south side of the house. The front deck is a 10 by 20 foot and does not currently conform to the setback. We propose replacing that with a 6 by 33 front porch, which is going to span the length of the second floor. And that's how we came up with the dimensions. It's more aesthetic, I think, than anything at that point. We're using it's really going to actually be a porch. It's 6 feet wide, so we can put a couple chairs out there so that we can go sit out there in the evening and kind of enjoy the view of the pond, the neighbors, just kind of have, cold drink and read or, look at our laptops. We actually do that quite a few times with some of our neighbors already, and that's kind of where we got the idea. The side porch is an 8 by 11, and this porch also doesn't conform to the side setback because it's 11 feet out of the 15 feet, so or 13 feet. We propose replacing that with a 4-foot wide wraparound, and this is really just an access deck to get to the back deck. We also got that idea from our next door neighbor. So that would allow people to enter to the back deck without going through the house, which we felt was kind of important to us. This is an access deck only. There is going to be nothing on this deck. It's a walkway basically is all it is. I am going to eliminate an 8 by 20 shed, which is in the back. You can see shed to be removed. In order, as I said, we kind of want to make that view of the marsh. It is very pretty. There's a lot of wildlife. We have an osprey nest back there, that sort of thing. I believe these changes will not alter the general characteristic, as front porches are common in that area, as well as a lot of these houses already do not meet the setback. There are a lot of old historic houses there that are probably, a number of them were probably within 20 feet of the road. So it's not in any way altering the characteristic in the neighborhood. And that's my request.
Thank you. So you basically have 2 decks right now, where the one on the northeast is already...
The front deck there.
Yeah, that deck is already not in conformance.
Right, it's already...
And so you're actually making it a little better.
Yes.
Because you're going farther back.
Yes.
And that's the case. The one for the existing deck on the south, that one, is that Yeah, that also is probably a side yard violation right there.
Yeah, it's 11 feet out, so and there's only 15 feet from the house. So it's not conforming already. So we're
So
going
you're
to,
making it a little bit better.
yeah, we're making that actually a lot better.
And are these existing decks on the first floor now?
Yes.
And you're going to move now to the second floor?
Well, everything, yeah, we're going to put a second floor up, which is really, we're just putting a master bedroom and laundry up there. And then the decks, the porch is going to be on the first floor, and then the wraparound will be the first floor also.
So no roof over the decks? It's an open deck?
On the side, it's an open deck. There will be a roof over the porch,
Over the sun deck or the front porch?
the front porch.
Front porch.
Yeah, it's going to be a standard porch.
And no stairs from down below?
No stairs down below. The back, we have the garage in the back, which is kind of makes it hard when you put the deck on the back of the house. So it's kind of restrictive where the stairs would actually go. The wraparound is an easier solution, I believe. Sure. And so did the designer.
Yeah, and you have three means of egress off that deck as it
Right.
is, so it's not as if, okay. Board members, any questions for the applicant? No?
In the front yard, there are two pipes
Yeah, there is.
sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
Is there a new septic system going in?
Yeah, there has to, in order to meet code because of the addition, the upstairs. We were told anything over 600 feet had to meet code, and we have to go in front of CRMC, which we've done already. So we've got all our pre-approvals. Balch and Jeff Balch and his crew there were good. They kind of walked me through the process because I never would have made it myself. And plus help from the town and everybody. So, yeah, so we're going to have to go with the, what is it, OTWS, I think it is, or OWTS
WTS, yep.
System. We have to put that in for it's quite a high cost, but
Has that been approved already?
yeah, it's been approved.
Okay, yeah. That was the only thing that I observed when I was out there that seemed strange. I mean, your neighbors to the east, I think it is, they're pretty close to that deck, aren't they?
Neighbors to the east.
Across Prospect on that side, or adjacent?
As I'm looking at the front,
Because so
to the right.
we have the south,
Okay.
north, the east.
You're on the north.
The east is in the front of the house.
That one?
This is east, right?
Yeah, this is east. So above them is on Prospect.
Oh, no, this is the front, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
That house?
Yeah, to the north.
To the north, yeah.
So to the north, actually, there's
no
no,
porch there.
there's no deck over there,
There's
so.
no deck, yeah.
In fact, we're taking the deck that would have been there, but they currently have a deck that's just right next to our house, so it's,
Oh, it's the deck to the south that we're,
the deck to the south, yeah, the access deck, the wraparound deck is to the south.
that's it.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone out there care about this? All right. Any discussion? Yeah, you can't just use a pipe in the ground. You gotta do a little more than that. Anyone else? Comments?
Makes sense to me. Seems like a reasonable
Okay.
proposal.
Someone want to make a motion, or?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Oh, excellent, Mr. Rosen. Thank you.
Motion to approve the petition of Stephen Patton, as described by the chairman initially. There were no people that spoke in support or in opposition to this petition. And Stephen Patton was his own representative. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land and structure, and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to the physical or economic disability of the applicant. Mainly because all he wants to do is add a second story to the house add a few decks to make the house more accessible, and he wants to live there in his and his wife's retirement. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain. As I said, he's going to retire there, not going to be making any money off of this addition, and I'm sure it'll make the property look much, much better than it presently looks. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. This is simply going to be a sprucing up of the house and making it more accessible and making it more pleasant for him to enjoy the beauty of the surrounding area. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary, simply because presently there are setbacks that have been overtaken in the past and are essentially grandfathered in, and he now has to correct some of the errors that were made in the past with respect to the ordinance that came on later on in the life of this house. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, simply because he would have to go back and reapply for approvals, which would be a burden upon him. And as a result, I move the approval of this petition.
Motion is made by Mr. Walsh, or Mr. Rosen. Can I get a second?
Second.
Yeah. Second by Mr. Daniels. Any discussion? No? Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Yes. Now all you have to do is build it. I know. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. No problem. Thank you.
Sorry, we'll just make that conditional, right? 2-year expiration for any kind of CRMC approval? Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. He's been through the gauntlet. Now you got the easy part. Okay, so for other things, we have the approval of the February 15th, 2023 minutes. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any objection? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Attendance for next month, April 19th. I believe I'll be here. Everybody going to be here? Yep.
April 19th, yeah, I think I will be.
Yeah, okay. I hope so. Ms. Goins, do you want to sort of walk us through the recusal, excuse me?
Yeah, under the next item on the agenda, the board can vote on a proposed amendment to the zoning board's bylaws or rules of procedure that we discussed, I want to say a month ago. So this would add to the bylaws a section on recusal, whereby a member who recuses will leave the room while the item is being discussed.
Oh, really? Interesting.
That was the discussion while you were gone
Oh,
last.
why, just so no one,
Code of ethics, but some boards have adopted that requirement just, again, right? So there's no question of influence or appearance of impropriety.
And so it's consistent among the board members.
yeah, sure. So is that something that we have to adopt or was adopted or no?
This is before you now for discussion and action.
Okay,
It becomes a rule, one of our rules, correct?
It would become part of your bylaws, right? Normally, the board the board operates under state law and your ordinances, but you are authorized to adopt bylaws for meeting procedures. So this is within the board's ability to, you know, kind of adopt rules for your own governance. Yep, correct.
Okay. Sure.
Amendments to the bylaws that I think we've discussed as kind of on the rainy day list, but since we're amending them anyway, right? The 2022 amendments that we're now operating under to the Zoning Enabling Act, whereby 4 members can constitute a quorum and 3 members can approve an application. This would just be a housekeeping amendment to the bylaws to reflect that, and additionally reflect that a 3rd alternate has been authorized by the General Assembly.
Can you explain the other amendment? I get the 4. What does that mean? The concurring votes of the majority of members sitting at the hearing are necessary to reverse any order.
That's the language from state law, but it was the 2022 law that we're operating under now, reducing from 4 to 3 the number of votes you need to approve an application. So majority being 3 versus 4 being the supermajority requirement under the law before that change became effective.
Got it.
And it also allows us to discuss with 4 members.
Right, the quorum, yep.
And so basically it liberalizes because we can approve with 3 and discuss with 4.
Right, you need 4 members now, but before you had to have 5 bodies in the room for a quorum. Now that number has been bumped down to 4.
It had to be 4 to approve, right?
Yep.
And then now it's,
Sorry, but discussion, I mean, any of us, all of us can discuss it. Is that what you're saying?
oh, no, I'm just saying it kind of made it easier if we didn't have an alternate.
That was the intent, right, of the 2022 law, to just make it a little bit easier to get a hearing started and to get approval before the zoning board, before any zoning board.
We also get an extra alternate, so, I mean, it's giving us lots and lots of tools.
But we still have to sort of choose who's voting by the ranking of their,
Yeah, regular members vote before alternates.
right? So we can't cherry pick to say, oh, we want these 4 people that we know are going to vote
Right.
one way.
The council has the power to appoint the specific positions of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd alternate.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. So we have to vote on these to becoming part of our charter? No.
The motion would be vote to direct staff and legal counsel to draft amendments to the bylaws as discussed. Once we get the updated document, we'll provide you with copies for the file.
Does anybody have any other discussion with this? No? Okay. So it looks like we want to have a motion to direct the town staff to have legal counsel to add these amendments to our bylaws. All in favor? Aye? Any opposed? No? That's good enough?
Yeah, just one very brief discussion item on the topic of recent amendments to state law. You probably heard that there's been a 14-bill housing package that's been introduced in the General Assembly, right? I don't want to spend too much time or delve into it too much, although if anyone has specific questions, you know how to find me. But just be on the lookout for a memo from our office in July. We'll advise you if any of the legislation is actually enacted. I will say the legislation that would amend the Zoning Enabling Act and the separate legislation that would amend the Development Review Act, which governs the planning board's review of land development projects and subdivisions, I would say if even half of that gets passed into law, it will result in some drastic changes to the way the zoning board operates and how many applications it sees. So just kind of keep that on your radar, and we'll let you know when, if and when any of the proposed legislation is enacted into law.
I mean, it seemed though, I mean, in my scant look at it, I mean, it seemed as if it was sort of making less things go through this board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
Yep.
a lot less.
A lot less. Yep.
Okay. How do you feel about that? Are you allowed to have an opinion, Jamie?
We'll just have to drum up work, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the impetus?
Is to promote production of housing.
Yeah. Yeah.
A whole host of bills, and some bills deal specifically with affordable housing and comprehensive permit applications, but the whole package is not just focused on affordable housing. It's focused on, you know, changes to the review and approval process for all kinds of development.
It would make a lot of things be able to happen that currently have to come through here. It's not just setback.
Power away from the town. There's no question about
It does take, it, yes.
It makes it more difficult for the planning board.
Yes.
Which now has to operate in this kind of a window instead of this kind of.
So, if it's something we're all interested in, then certainly we're all allowed to go to the State House and speak on, right? Are we?
You don't speak for the board, right? You speak in your individual capacities, but absolutely, you're citizens and you have a right to petition your government.
Yes.
Now, that raises, I've got a couple of ethics questions, one of them resulting from a case we heard here that I had to recuse myself. Now they're having, it's appearing, before, you may know it's going back to the planning board. I'm not sure why, but I was sent a notice as an abutter. You're aware of it. Am I allowed to attend that? Okay.
Just turn on your mic. Oh, oh, yeah, yeah. Yes. Just turn on your mic.
Say there's another question also as an abutter, and I wanted to see if it was possible or if I can attend that. And we can talk, and I'm delighted to receive your guidance.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn? All in favor?